Breath of the Wild is an incredible game. Now I just wait for the views. Wait, this game came out 4 years ago? The first time I played Breath of the Wild back in 2017, I just couldn't see the appeal. Despite only completing 2 of the Divine Beasts and a near zero amount of other content, I almost felt cool about not liking one of the most well-received video games of all time. I would say stuff to my friends like, yeah, it's just an empty sandbox, or there isn't much of a story at all. But after giving it another go, ready to hate it again and fully tear it apart in my previous video, I quickly realized my negative opinion wasn't exactly gonna stay intact. And in some cases, I was just factually wrong. While one of Breath of the Wild's biggest flaws could be the fact that it isn't a traditional Zelda game, the careful removal of linear design conventions and main objective train tracks results in a one-of-a-kind experience truly centered around exploration and player freedom. I fell in love with Breath of the Wild because it implements the exact opposite of every design choice that makes me want to stasis punch traditional open-world RPGs right through the window. I struggle with massive worlds that feel like roadblocks in the way of core elements that usually captivate me in a video game, like main objectives, storylines, and actual gameplay. But Breath of the Wild truly embodies that cheesy saying, it's about the journey, not the destination. Even without a gripping plot or tons of major upgrades and dungeons, the sense of adventure oozing out of every corner is what got me so hooked the second time around. The story quest says, hey, you should probably just go grab those lightning arrows and leave, but if you really wanna ingest copious amounts of meat skewers and try to kill the giant horse mini-boss, fucking go for it, man. That was awesome. While I'm sure every combination of words I'll say about this game have already been said, I've become so obsessed with something I thought I hated that I want to take a look at the potentially obscure details that made me change my mind, while also analyzing the ways in which we derive value from the games we play. And by we, I mean everyone, you know, the collective, the gamer. So to start things off, let's talk about noise. This sounds like a bizarre technical preference, but I think that the most important aspect of Breath of the Wild is the fact that it doesn't talk all that much, both literally and figuratively. The tutorial manages to stay engaging while teaching you about the mechanics. You get a 5-minute cutscene about the plot, and a pop-up says, destroy Ganon. That's it. Maybe free the 4 divine beasts if you want to. The order in which you go about doing this, how many you choose to free, the locations you choose to travel to, it's all yours to decide. Any percent speedrunners say fuck it, Tony Hawk Bokoblin style, and launch themselves straight towards Ganon before either of them get the chance to put any pants on. The game doesn't keep track of everything done and left to do with percentages that would make my semi-completionist side wish for death. It suggests that you talk to Impa in Kakariko Village for more info, but it doesn't force you to stare at a quest marker for everything you do. It doesn't mark where every flashback point is if you want to see cutscenes, and it doesn't say there's 2 side quests in every town. You seek them out yourself. All of this silence allowed me, the player, to hear my own thoughts, and led me to explore infinitely more than I have in any other open world game, as being told where something is, or just that it exists at all, ruins half the magic that comes with discovery. Silent tutorials exist everywhere to subtly teach you about interactions without spitting a pop-up in your face or spoiling all the fun by treating you like a baby. Hell, the first 10 minutes has the best optional video game tutorial of all time. Now, I want to take a look at the details of the map. Isn't it cool that every icon on here is something I already found or chose to mark myself? The map didn't reveal a single thing to me other than the existing geography of the landscape, and in doing so led me to make constant changes to my travel plan, resulting in a wondrous zigzag of toddler decision making where I'd be on my way to something 10 feet away but then see a tree that looks kind of funny 5 feet away, and now I'm freezing to death on top of a mountain next to a giant dragon. How the fuck did I get up here? It took me me till pretty late in my playthrough, but I eventually realized, hey, if I'm just wandering in random directions, I don't need a minimap. I don't need any of this. This drive for pure exploration pushed me to adopt another form of silence too, in the way I approached getting stuck. I think the idea of looking something up when you're stuck in a video game is second nature nowadays, but I actively fought the instinct to pull out my phone and would instead think, with my brain, that might still be up in my skull somewhere.
So that's what was in there this whole time.
Since there's very little item-gated content and no meaningless level systems, I felt no pressure to finish any objective right after discovering it. Ancient song riddles and hidden shrines were often challenging enough to stump me the first time around, but having the solution click in my brain 20 hours later was always super satisfying. Sometimes I'd even write little notes down for later or draw diagrams to solve puzzles. The game does not give you the answers, but it also gives you enough tools to create your own. I'd find an obstacle, get completely stumped, come back a week later and bullshit my way to success. I could have cut down a tree and used a log to float underneath this cave, but I just said fuck it and froze my nuts off by swimming straight through the river like a dumbass. I didn't need dialogue saying, I can sense a shrine nearby. Maybe I should find something tree adjacent to ride across that freezing water. My name is Link. My current mission is to stop the divine beasts and Calamity Ganon, and I will continuously interrupt the atmosphere of this open world by recapping my exact mission objective out loud to myself every 5 seconds. Breath of the Wild also does a fantastic job at building atmosphere without using text or dialogue. It establishes emotions with music, sound effects, weather, item spawns, environmental storytelling, everything except a cutscene of a dude giving me a tour around the city the second I step foot in it. The cel-shaded graphics are just so good, and every detail from the plants to the wildlife to the buildings just fucking dunk me into this game's world. Shrines are these advanced metallic puzzles that clash with the nature of the outside landscape, and bokoblins feel like more than just placed enemies as you watch them ride horses and struggle to hunt wild animals. The game's simplistic visual style makes identifying landmarks and finding secrets much easier than its hyper-realistic counterparts, which often require trackers and radars in order to find small objects buried within sprawling cities and densely packed foliage. But Breath of the Wild's visuals don't just help make discovery more natural, they help paint a clear picture of the world and its history. Telling me about how Calamity Ganon took over the Guardians is one thing, but the feeling of pure dread and shit pants that comes from walking through the ruins of buildings filled with towering dormant machines that could kill me in one hit, and then they wake up and it goes, and then they start charging their laser and point it right at me and the music goes,
I'll be right back.
Oh, and just while I'm on the tangent of music, because let's be real, this isn't the only time I'm gonna be, Breath of the Wild officially earns the award of your music and atmosphere is so good that my nitrous oxide anxiety engine of a brain managed to stand still in a video game to take it all in. You can put that one up next to the BAFTA. Bouncing off of the ideas of silence and discovery I've already mentioned, I think Breath of the Wild also does an incredible job at making every aspect of gameplay engaging by flipping the open world formula on its head. How the fuck did they make climbing so much fun? In most open world games, the world isn't fully interactable. It's a giant hub with points of interest scattered about. If you're searching for nothing but the main story quest, which can often be the main draw, the world boils down to filler as you spend hours upon hours riding horses or fast traveling to get to where the game needs you to go to experience something. And sometimes that shit doesn't even stop when you get to the mission. Oh, you just rode your horse 20 minutes to get here? Well, why don't we have a little chat and ride another 10?
Wow, it's really like being a cowboy in the 1800s. Because because it fucking sucks.
The open world's collectibles, side quests, and enemy spawns then exist as the additional content, the sometimes fascinating but most of the time excruciating diversions to supplement the main course. In Breath of the Wild, however, since the goal of destroy Ganon is so minor yet so omnipresent in the back of your mind, exploring the world is the entire game. I obviously can't speak for everyone's playthrough, but in my experience, saying fuck it, picking a direction, and going was my main objective, as I knew there would never be a dull moment. Maybe I'd find a shrine, a Korok seed, a new item for cooking, a cool weapon, kill some bokoblins, fight a mini-boss, get jumped by a Yiga clan member, and watch his dumbass get blasted to Kingdom Fuck because he didn't put his sword away in a lightning strike. Even if I wasn't doing something that would directly impact my ability to beat the shit out of Ganon, it was still exciting. It was just fun, you know? Like games are supposed to be sometimes. Maybe like a good chunk of the time? Portion of the pie, if you will. I don't know, just an idea I've been workshopping lately. I never felt that finding something new in Breath of the Wild ever needed an amazing reward. So often we put up with menial game objectives or grindy mechanics to level a weapon, or get an item, or do something necessary to beat the game or progress to a fun part. Oftentimes when we focus on a singular objective, frustration occurs if we can't make progress, and our actions may end up seeming like a waste of time. I've experienced this feeling in many a game, but while exploring Hyrule, I was very rarely seeking things out for any specific reason. I wanted to find shrines because they're filled with all sorts of fun puzzles, not because I needed the health upgrade. I was always on the lookout for Korok seeds because they made me smile, not because I needed another inventory slot. Except when I had a certified Sisyphean moment trying to play golf. If you want to boil the game down to a boring science, you could theoretically farm fairies for free respawns, only cook food items that give you full health recovery, and keep a stockpile of ice arrows and weapons while exploiting mechanics to cheese your way through fights. But so much of the magic in Breath of the Wild is in finding new ways to do things. Climbing up a nearby mountain to swoop down on top of an enemy camp, manipulating the environment with magnesis and stasis, lighting grass on fire to create updrafts, using jellies and bombs as elemental landmines. I could quite literally go on for what feels like an eternity. I spent a majority of my hours in this massive world on foot, as I felt that riding a horse could result in me missing something cool just around the corner. The way this game's content is presented makes everything feel worthwhile. Shrines, side quests, monster camps, Sheikah towers, mini-games, they aren't just items to be checked off on a list. They feel grounded, like they're a part of Hyrule, rather than placed in corners of a once empty map to be echolocated by my footstep radar. When Hestu first brings up the concept of Korok seeds, it's not a disconnected HUD pop-up telling you that there are 900. It's a secret that if you happen to find enough of, you can trade for inventory slots. I can guarantee you that the sense of magic would be ruined if the Sheikah slate went, "Congrats, you found a Korok seed. We will now mark every
Korok seed on your map."
Oh, I wonder if there are any Korok seeds around here.
My favorite quest line in the entire game is Terrytown. Is it partially because it has dynamic music that adds region-specific instruments as you invite new inhabitants?
Yeah.
But it's also because the objective itself, much like every other side quest, doesn't need to be activated and tracked with a marker. It doesn't need to completely interrupt your adventures or bombard you with meaningless cutscenes. Instead, it adds another reason to really pay attention to the world around you. As I continued my journey and talked to NPCs, I'd listen to their stories and get excited when they said they were looking for a better life or new opportunities. And sure enough, their name would end in Sun, I'd invite them, and watch the town grow over the course of my entire playthrough. Then new houses would crop up, alongside new inhabitants and side quests and rumors. The music was just the icing on the cake, honestly. So many quests in Breath of the Wild share this design philosophy, and I absolutely adore it. You might be given information that isn't relevant until 50 hours later, until you're looking down at the remains of a massive creature and you go, "Oh yeah, some guy wanted me to take a picture of that." Or this little kid says, "Yeah, my dad saw a giant giant bird from the top of this mountain, and you go, I don't see any birds around here. Oh my god. This is one of the only games I can genuinely say I did the side quests in because the reward was the joy of the quest itself, not the 20 rupees the dude gave me after I helped him talk to the girl of his dreams. Alongside these dynamic tales, the secrets hidden across every square inch of the map allow every player to experience genuine moments of triumph and accomplishment, instead of being forced to sit perfectly in an identical train seat until it reaches its destination. Even being 4 years late to this party, I still managed to find secrets that some of my friends never encountered in their own playthroughs, and it was super exciting to share those stories. Getting to a stable to discover I'd already completed someone's request or finding a fairy fountain entirely through hearsay felt great, and I probably built up some muscle in my arms from the amount of times I pumped my fist into the air after finding a Korok seed. But this game isn't just about finding things, it's about what you can do to every square inch of the world and what it can do to you. It's not about how quickly you can kill the happy little bokoblins, it's about how much emotional trauma you can inflict. While I do hope the sequel manages to include more of the grandiose set pieces and story moments we all crave, Breath of the Wild more than makes up for its lack of overall structure with its staggering attention to detail. In so many open world games, the world itself doesn't feel like a core part of the experience, other than maybe some stealth bushes and collectible plants. But in this game, fucking everything interacts. With the seemingly simple tools I was given, I felt such an incredible sense of freedom that I was making new discoveries up until the end of the game. Using campfires, flame swords, and torches to stay warm and melt ice, solving shrine puzzles in unorthodox ways, lifting things with octo balloons, standing in the hand of a sleeping Hinox to get on its stomach, cutting off a guardian's legs, or...
Holy shit!
This video is just turning into a top 100 things you didn't know you could do in Breath of the Wild. Blow this guy to the next dimension. This feeling of freedom even extends to certain story quests, as what could have been the worst mission in the history of video games, part escort and part stealth, is fun. You don't get a mission failed screen because you didn't perform the exact motions the developer intended. You can be creative with your approach. If you want to be stealthy, go for it. You can also say fuck this, tell big guy to stay put, climb up the side of the mountain and knock the drones right out of the sky. In every moment I spent with Breath of the Wild, I felt like I had more options than every other game combined, like I could do anything. Well, almost anything. What do you mean I can't register the skeleton horse and name him Mr. Bones? No, he won't eat the other horses, I think. Being forced to think on the fly, even if one is seemingly out of options, is where I feel Breath of the Wild's resourcefulness truly shines, even if it can be a bit annoying to have a sword break in a couple hits. There's a concept in game design called dominant strategy, and simply put, we monkeys like to search for the best, fastest, strongest, most overpowered option we can find in a game and then use it exclusively. Even while playing casually, we'll try to push a game to its limits, even if it leads to a less fun experience overall. It's a strange mixture of problem solving and cheating, and I think weapon durability is a direct, deliberate counter to make sure it doesn't get out of hand. This doesn't mean the inventory system couldn't be expanded upon or improved, as I think late game management is a much bigger issue, but clocking a skeleton with his own arm or frantically dropping bombs and throwing spears as I get chased by a bunch of angry dudes is much funnier than constantly freezing everyone with an ice blade and then dealing double damage with an ancient battle axe ++. Or doing this to a guy. I think I got him. Now, there's one last contributor that makes Breath of the Wild feel truly alive, the final piece of the puzzle that brings everything together. It's the music. While some fans were disappointed by an apparent lack of music, I think the dynamic and reactive scoring is absolutely incredible and truly speaks to the ways in which music can be used to enhance the ideas behind a game. Guardians and the Divine Beasts are accompanied by futuristic mechanical instruments that drown out the calm piano that defines the open world. While a majority of the game's overworld music may not be as bombastic as former Zelda entries, fully orchestrated songs are used sparingly with incredible levels of detail. Combat accents are played on beat after every hit to give battle music a more active role. Dungeon themes scale their intensity as you activate terminals and progress through the phases of a fight. Hyrule Castle has indoor and outdoor versions. And the town and village themes make me want to curl up into a ball and cry. Delicate piano melodies gently flow through the vastness of the open world while making sure not to clash with sounds that play a key role in exploration. The field theme has randomized segments to keep things fresh, and even the tops of snowy mountains have their own motifs, as if congratulating you for finishing the climb. The sounds of the wind, trees, birds, Korok pinwheels and flowers, distant towns and stables, Cass's accordion, enemy camps, guardians, and Hyrule Castle then fill in the gaps to create a unique soundscape for your adventure, rather than a that would overwhelm anything in its path. It's almost like you're listening to the breath of the wild.
I'm sorry, the video's almost over, okay?
Recently, I've been thinking about the way that I approach and interact with video games. It's safe to say that I'm obsessed. Even if I wasn't a YouTuber, I'd be playing them every day at every opportunity, but I also seem to have a strange in and out relationship with any new title I pick up. In some cases, it could be because I need to clear a game to get footage or talk about it in a video, or maybe I'm just trying to make the most of my limited free time. Either way, it leads to a specific mindset and form of play that I'm not all that happy with. Constantly looking at the clock, ignoring side content, and failing to take my time. Made a whole video about that last one. Just recently, I rushed through the entirety of Psychonauts in 2 days, primarily to get to Psychonauts 2, which I still haven't even played yet. But did I even appreciate the first game as much as I would've if not rushing for the credits? I say all this because whether through a relaxed mindset of not rushing to complete this video, or just through the structure of the game itself and the lack of focus on an end goal, Breath of the Wild is a game in which I was finally able to just exist. I've heard so many people talk about getting lost in a game's world without actively doing something at every moment, and I finally get it now. Through the 100+ hours I sank over the past couple months, I finally managed to fall in love with an open world game, so much so that it really is one of my new favorite games ever. While its creativity and exploration focused gameplay might not be for everyone, the fully interactable sandbox feels so much more engaging than your standard giant map with points of interest. It's a really special feeling to think, I don't want this to be over while playing a game, rather than I'm ready to beat this. I freed all of the Divine Beasts and fought Ganon, but I know that I didn't find everything, and that's okay. I'm more than happy with the amount of cool secrets I did discover, and I'm glad I wasn't subconsciously tricked into approaching every objective as something to be 100% tracked down and completed. I found such a comforting feeling in standing still in a town, closing my eyes and listening. Taking in my surroundings, talking to every NPC, not getting frustrated when I got stuck on a puzzle. And every time a mountain looked interesting, well, Korok seat at the top or not, I was already well on my way to climbing it. that's it. Those are the thoughts. If you have any cool experiences or general thoughts you'd like to share, feel free to leave a comment. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed the video, and you can check out my Patreon in the description if you'd like to help support me in my endeavor to make cool videos about things that I like. I've been talking about things I don't like quite a bit recently, so it's nice to get back to talking about something I really love. Hopefully nothing will change that.